You kidding me? You think that people who are not formally educated are not intelligent? Just go to a little village, mountain tribe in Nepal, or up and go down to Uganda. I mean, go and see what those kids are going to do to you out of sheer smarts.
Sup, party people? Welcome to another episode of Tech Society. Today we have Ernesto Sirolli, founder of the Sirolli Institute. Ernesto has been working in the field of local economic development since 1971 and has developed a philosophy and practice that empowers communities to manage their own social and economic growth.
In 2012, Dr. Sirolli was invited to give a TED Talk. His talk, Shut Up and Listen, has been translated in 31 languages and downloaded more than 2.8 million times. Dr. Sirolli currently resides in Sacramento, California, and has worked globally with entrepreneurs to create over 55,000 jobs in 400 communities. Ernesto advocates only beauty will save us.
Hi guys.
Hey Ernesto.
Ernesto, how are you doing?
Very well, very well.
So we're going to do this pretty casual. I just wanted to learn more about what you do. I've watched your TED Talks, gone through your websites. I think we should start just by telling us more about enterprise facilitation and, just give the audience just jump straight into it and give us an introduction on what it is and what do you do.
Enterprise facilitation is an application of psychology to business. I never studied business. I studied the psychology of personal growth. And I became intrigued by the possibility that actually the economy is nothing else but millions of people doing beautifully what they love to do. And the response that I received when I did my PhD on this issue was total disbelief, because of course, economic development is done by money and by experts, according to government programs, according to every single economic development corporation in the world, according to every single government program. Development can be somehow can be produced with an injection of money and expertise. And this is completely false. There isn't enough money in the world to buy development. And present costs of, for instance, setting up a manufacturing factory will be maybe $2 million per job created. If you had a population with, say, 10,000 unemployed people, there is no government that would be able to create the industries to employ the unemployed. So it's not true that you can buy development. Development is a consequence of people's intelligence and passion. And in every economy, the majority of the jobs have been created by small and medium companies. So I was very interested in demonstrating this theory that actually you can foster development by providing a service that for free and in confidence. When I say for free to the or to the client, but to the customer who is using the service. So a service that is free to the entrepreneur who has an idea, and the service is paid by a third party, and the third party could be a government, could be a corporations, could be anybody who has an interest in the creation of additional jobs in the community. I was very keen to demonstrate that if you started to shut up and listen to local people respectfully.
I love that title in the TED Talk. It was Shut Up and Listen.
Shut up and listen. Then if you were able to create a safe space which is like the space with a family doctor, where you can go to a family doctor and not only you can describe your hemorrhoids, but you can actually show your hemorrhoids to a doctor that you had never met before. And the reason why you do it is because there is an absolute bond of trust and confidentiality between you and whatever family doctor around the world. There is a profession that allows you to confide in another human being. I thought that if we would create the same kind of trusting relationship, people would come with a dream, the dream that they had. And so when I started my research, my PhD in 1978, I had all these kind of academics and professors who were saying to me, no, Ernesto, the people out there, they do not know what they want. They do not know how to do it. If they could help themselves, they would be helping themselves.
Yeah.
Ernesto, it is for us to take the expertise to the masses. The model is only one model. The model is know-how, arrow, expert, arrow, client. There is no other possible model. And because I had studied psychology and I had studied the psychology of growth, I was humanistic psychology. I was able to tell my professors, I was able to say to them, no, actually, every single human being at any given time has a dream to improve herself or himself. It's a human condition. Every single human being has a dream. So my model, dear professor, has the three boxes: know-how, instead of the expert, as a facilitator, and then the client. But in my model, what changes is the direction of the arrows. In your model, universities, know-how, arrow, expert, arrow, client. In my model is client, arrow, facilitator, arrow, know-how. Everything started with the passion, the dream of the individual who says, I am absolutely fanatical about this. I have seen something that nobody has seen. My dream is to transform my talent, my vision into a way of feeding myself, my family, employ people, contribute to society. So I had, because it was the disbelief of the academics, I was told, prove it. And so I have spent the last 35 years proving one professor wrong, and by teaching enterprise facilitation and by becoming an advocate for an approach that has been adopted in 400 communities worldwide, and apparently has created something like 55,000 companies without ever arriving uninvited in a community and without ever telling people what to do, but helping people with the how to do it. So I've trained enterprise facilitators around the world. I keep doing it. Now we train virtually, and the model is very, very, very solid. I can tell you that it's never ceased. The miracle of intelligence has never stopped blowing me away. And now I'm such an advocate. I say to people, don't you ever confuse intelligence for education. You kidding me? You think that people who are not formally educated are not intelligent? Just go to a little village, mountain tribe in Nepal, or up and go down to Uganda. I mean, go and see what those kids are going to do to you out of sheer smarts. So education is a veneer that works if underneath there is intelligence. But if there is no intelligence, you can put all the education that you want and you still have nothing. So I'm a humanist. I'm a trainer of leaders around the world, government leaders, corporate leaders. I tell them, you are ignoring the gold that is in your community. You have never taken the time to shut up and listen to your people in your community, and you have never been able to win their trust. So you don't know what's in the hearts and mind of local people. The moment you were to create a free, confidential, competent service that respectfully listens to people's dream and then helps them to go from the dream to form a successful enterprise that can add value to humanity, you know, the word will spread around and your little town will become such a success that people will travel from all over the world to come and see the miracle of local intelligence. And then what happened to me, I started this in Esperance in WA in 1985. My telephone has never stopped ringing. I was invited to come to America with an O1 visa, which is an Einstein visa for special merit. And it's a visa that is a national interest waiver visa, where the American wanted me to come in, and they waived all the requirements. So just by listening to local people. So I have, I have an Australian passport. I lived in Australia 19 years. I'm married to an Australian, and I have grandchildren who live in Perth. I'm one of those guys who, you know, consider himself an international person because, I spend more time away from Italy than in the country where I was born. I spend more time now in America than in Australia. I spend more time in Australia than in Africa, but I spent 11 years living and working in Africa. So, I've been around the block.
What I'm curious about is you basically set out to prove academics wrong. And this has been your focus for what you said, 35 years.
Yeah.
Have they been convinced by what you're trying to prove?
Well, the most important academic in my life, he lives in Perth, is Professor Peter Newman. And you should actually, if you have not interviewed him, you have to interview him, because Peter Newman is the world authority in urban transport. And Peter Newman is the guy who electrified all the train system in Western Australia, and then it's been taken all over the world. His book, a comparative study of 29 cities in the world, looking at transport system, is a classic. Peter is on the board of the Sirolli Institute, my non-profit here in America. And Peter Newman was the guy who said to me, I don't really believe in what you say, but what can I do for you to prove me wrong?
Yeah,
and that's the sign of a great academic. Instead of putting blockages in front of you, is saying, what can I do for you to demonstrate? And so it was Peter Newman that got me invited in Esperance when Esperance was in the doldrums in the 80s because they had cut tuna fishing. And it was through Peter Newman that I was allowed to experiment on this idea that let's see who in Esperance has any idea to do anything, and let me see whether I can help them. And so, then I invented this enterprise facilitation name in Western Australia, and then was adopted. I was an advisor to the federal government in Australia with the business advisors in rural Australia. And then, of course, I'm considered a pioneer of what it became the business enterprise centers, which has been then copied all over in Australia. Then I was in New Zealand. We created some 72 similar outfits. And then I was invited to go to the States. And then when I was supposed to come here for 6 months, and they never let me go because they said, we like what you do. And they helped me to create this non-profit organization that is a training organization called the Sirolli Institute. And they even told me to call it my name because they said they will steal everything. So the only thing you can protect is your name. Yeah. Don't call it some incubator fancy name because they will steal it from you. So the only thing you can protect is your name, so-called your name. And so I've been, supported by some extraordinary people here in the States. And strangely enough, now thinking back at the situation seems a near impossibility. But we have on our board of the non-profit, we have some very, very strong Democrats and some very strong Republicans who love what we do for completely different reasons.
That's interesting.
Right now would be, I believe, impossible. Right now would be impossible. But the people that we have on the board, they love each other and they respect each other so much. But they love enterprise facilitation for two completely different reasons. For the Republicans, helping entrepreneurs without giving them money by teaching people how to make money is the American, the way America was built. So it's all entrepreneurship. It's all about helping the person who arrives in America with no money, with absolutely nothing, and through sheer, character strengths, builds a business. For the Democrats, the idea that you set up a service that shut up and listen and help people to become the best they can be. Wow, give me more of that. So for completely different reasons, they came to love the organization and love each other. And so we have had a very stable board for many, many years. It's been fun. And even through some very difficult times, having such an attachment to people, intelligence and potential is a language that allows us to speak to whoever calls us. Yeah. And this morning, just a few hours ago, we were conversing with an African-American young entrepreneur who has a following of some 320 African-American entrepreneurs. And now we are going to organize a conversation only with African-American entrepreneurs. And in this kind of climate, for me, it's a great honor to be invited to do something like that, because I'm an old white man, and we are probably hated right now. But I somehow escaped from that curse because of the track record. I can bring.
You've been in Africa for a long time. You've been helping.
I can, but I also worked in very, in urban communities, also in the United States, and I have some credibility. So
you can demonstrate the respect.
You cannot, and it's not. But I have to say that the Australians were a fantastic school for me, because Australians don't suffer fools. Australians, are the first people to say, "You full of shit, mate." And if you're full of it, they gonna tell you. Australians are not at all, they don't mince words. And I remember that, dealing with some real, tough farmers and fishermen in Australia. Oh my God, to have these guys to come and see you and say, "Thanks, mate," was like getting the Nobel Prize, because who is gonna do that to you? You have to really demonstrate. And so it was was the school of hard knocks, Australia. You can't bullshit, because they will call you.
Especially if you're in the middle of nowhere, or
Oh my God,
in a regional.
There is, and you're a foreigner, and you come and you say to them that you prepare to shut up and listen to them and help them to do what they want, and they say, "Okay, show us." And so Australia was phenomenal for me. It was a country where I was given the chance. People were very sincere. There are some cultures where you never know where you stand. they smile at you, they tell you how nice you are, but then they don't, they don't give you a chance, or they don't follow up. They're polite. You see what I mean? They are
Yeah, that's an
polite,
interesting
formally
one.
polite, but not
Yeah.
really sincere.
I got a question about that actually. So you're talking about, you've moved between cultures, many cultures.
Yeah.
Europe, US, Australia, Africa.
Yeah.
What was it like? Because you have to keep crossing cultures, crossing cultural boundaries, and the way you approach business, the way you approach people is different in every culture. Was there any like challenges, any surprises,
I had a
any
very
cool
special
stories?
training. I was so lucky because my father, when I was 9 years old, left Italy, and he was a doctor, he was a specialist, he was a radiologist.
Yep.
So when he was a young doctor, he became the head of radiology in the civil hospital of Benghazi in Libya.
Wow.
And so for 3 years, when I was 9, 10, 11, I lived in Benghazi, and the only school for foreigners was an Italian school, a middle school, elementary and middle school.
Yep.
And this school was a Christian Brothers school, and they were very open to every race and every religion. So when I was 9, my schoolmates were Americans, because they had just discovered oil. So Americans, English, French, Italians, Greeks, Maltese, Saudi, Palestinians, Jews.
Wow.
We were 37 in my class, 37 kids. And my two best friends, one was an Israeli Jew, the other one was a Palestinian Arab.
Oof.
And the two of them never spoke to each other. And the three of us were inseparable. We had three bicycles. The Jew will say to me, Ernesto, let's go to the movie. I will say to the Palestinian, let's go to the movies. The three of us, we were like those tres amigos. We were inseparable, but the two of them never spoke to each other.
Yeah.
So what happened to me was that I was in such cross-cultural, multicultural, international setting that I would be invited to the house of the Jew, the house of the Arab, and I would be, befriending the brothers, sisters, and the families. And for me, all that was normal. Only years later, I saw a picture of one of my other friends in the class, Husni Ben Husni. And Husni Ben Husni, I discovered only 10 years later, looking at the picture of us, that Husni was black. I had no memories of Husni being black.
You didn't see it. Yeah.
Because kids are colorblind. Husni is my friend. I don't look at the color. He will not look at my, I was Ernesto, he was Husni. So I have to say that kind of absolute immersion in all sorts of different cultures gave me some sort of feeling that, yes, culture is very important. You have to respect it. In certain houses, you behave in a certain way. But actually, culture is skin deep, because when you scratch it, you bleed all the same. And what gave me this kind of sense was the fact that my father being a doctor, coming from a family, my grandfather was a surgeon, I came from a background where, yes, you look at the niceties of cultural anthropology, but you treat pneumonia the same way everywhere.
Everyone gets it, yeah.
So my point is, yes, be culturally sensitive means you come in, and before you do something, you observe, learn to read the signs, and try to learn very quickly about behavior. Try not to do things that other people are not doing in that room. But the reality is that people are people, and when you are respectful, but then you understand that that in Mongolia, in the Gobi Desert, the first yurt that I enter with the interpreter, I was invited to go inside that yurt. And when I came inside that yurt and I said that, and I got the camel milk tea, and then you drink it, even though you don't like it, you drink it because it's polite to do so.
Yeah.
I knew that I could ask the people in front of me a question. And my question to that young couple was, what is your love? What are you doing right now? What is your business? And in about 20 seconds, I was in front of two entrepreneurs who were telling me that they had both studied engineering in Ulaanbaatar, and they've come back to the village because their parents were becoming old. But their business was, they created a factory making felt with wool, and they were producing 5 meters of felt per day, and the dream was to produce 25 meters of felt per day. And we were immediately talking about the business, because I knew that if they are human beings, they have a dream. So I simply said, what is your dream? And they could have told me the dream was to, do whatever else. But it is only when you know that people are identical to you, that you can trust yourself to ask that question. See? It is only when you know that no matter the culture, people have dreams to improve their lot. And the first thing they want is materialistic needs, eat every day, have a roof over their heads. As soon as they have food and shelter, they want safety. They want to be sure that next month they will have food and shelter. As soon as they have food, shelter, and safety, they start to desire needs which are not materialistic, which are, psychological needs: love, belonging, creativity, companionship, beauty, excellence. So my point is that, it's like, if I ask you guys where you are in terms of your needs, it could be that some of you guys are so beyond wanting to buy another television set or to buy another car and say, my dream is creativity, companionship, freedom. My dreams is ethics, a better world.
More
and
philosophical,
and the millennials are the best, because the millennials are all beyond materialistic needs. You find millennials who say, give me creativity, give me freedom, give me companionship, give me the ability to contribute to the world.
So on that,
magnificent generation.
It's interesting because you've mentioned it a few times now. All humans have dreams. Once you satisfy their needs, their dreams start to come up to the top. But do you believe that all humans also have that entrepreneurial spirit to try and achieve their dreams?
No. And I have never, ever, 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 ever found a single professor of entrepreneurship, and I challenge any professor of entrepreneurship to be able to tell me where the word entrepreneur comes from and what does it mean, from which language, and what is the etymology. If you break down the word, where does it come from and what does it mean? And I think it's embarrassing. This is sheer ignorance, and that's why I'm so pissed off with the academics, because very often they don't even make the effort.
Let's set it right. Let's set it right now. So tell us more about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because it's the most beautiful thing.
It's French, right? It's a French word.
You're not even going to find on Google, because Google is the lowest common denominator. But it took me some time, because I was outraged by the fact that people were constantly saying that entrepreneur is a French word. And I laughingly said, the French have no language. That's why they invented miming, because they have no language. All of French language is Latin. So we are cousins with the French. And the reason why I knew that it was a lie was because in Italian we have exactly the same word, entrepreneur, intraprendente. We have exactly the same word. So if you have a French word and an Italian word that are similar, is because they have a mother, and the mother is the Latin. So the word had to be Latin. And I was going crazy because I could not find any way, any evidence of what was the Latin word. And finally, I was once in London, and I went to the British Library. And in the British Library in London, they have a section that is only etymological dictionaries.
Wow.
So you can go in there to find out the origin of the words in many, many, many different languages. And I went in there and I found what it means, and it's the most exquisite word. The Latin word is intraprehendere, and I'm going to write it down for you here on the chat. And this is the Latin word, intraprehendere. Intraprehendere is a verb. Here's the word, intraprehendere. And this is what it means. Intra, the first part of the word, intra means among. Pre means the first. Hen is the Indo-European root of the word to get.
Wow. Okay.
Intraprehendere means the first among others to get it.
Wow.
And
That's
it's
cool.
the most unbelievable word. And so in Italian, intraprendente is an adjective, and it's like to say someone is courageous. In Italian, you can say that someone is intraprendente, means someone has the personality to get something before others. Yeah. And in the Italian language, it's not associated with business.
Interesting.
So you can have a mom who is intraprendente because she has always the best way to do to see the opportunity to decorate pasta and make necklaces for the kids with painted pasta. And so intraprendente is not connected to business. So the word has been hijacked and has been prostituted. And we should, when I deal in a community, I deal with anybody who's intraprendente. So if somebody says to me, I want to do something that is not per profit, for me, they are entrepreneurs exactly like any other entrepreneur. So it is really brutal that what we have done, we've taken this word away, and then this word has been so prostituted that, for instance, in Western Australia, there was a time when you could not even use the word entrepreneur because they were the Laurie Connell and the Alan Bond, and it was actually a dirty word. In the 80s, the word entrepreneur in Australia was a very dirty word.
Interesting. It's changed then.
These people
become
were
cool
thieves.
again. Yeah.
People were robbers. So it took a long time, and it's been your generation that has resurrected the word entrepreneur in a positive way to say entrepreneurs are, the startuppers, they are the dot-coms people, and maybe they're a bit naive, but they are well-meaning. Whereas the word entrepreneur before you guys was considered, these are the shysters who rob the government for their own advantage.
Wow.
And
so this is changing the generation,
The change of generation was very beneficial to the word. But at the same time, imagine if we were imagine if we were saying that you can be a teacher who is enterprising. See the word enterprising? That's the word enterprising is the precursor of entrepreneur in the French way. So in the moment that we will start saying we want to work with people, every single person who is enterprising has access to the enterprise facilitator, because she could be someone who says, I don't want to do anything myself, but I have this passion to get this collective of women to start to produce, turmeric in Nepal. And I don't want anything out of this, but I see the opportunity. And I am a woman who has set up now this, and I'm working with them, this group of women who are, harvesting, producing, turmeric for the market.
Wow, that's pretty cool, because entrepreneur is a pretty used word for, like you said, startuppers, but it's funny that you can't actually find the original meaning of it until you have to travel to the library to find. But it makes you wonder.
Yeah, and you get the academics teaching entrepreneurial classes, but then they start with the definition. And it's so disappointing to me, because not knowing what entrepreneur means, every single book on entrepreneurship has a different definition of it. So if you get 30 books on entrepreneurship, you get 30 different definitions of entrepreneur. And then because they cannot define it, then they come up with classifications. So entrepreneurs there are entrepreneurs who start new businesses, but there are also then entrepreneurs who start companies, and there are family businesses, though they're not really entrepreneurs because they bought the business instead of develop. So then they start to with all these different classification, which is like funny
gymnastics.
Is Louis José Luis Borges, who says come up with this the classification of the animals in the zoo of the emperor. And so this classification, which are completely bullshit, but they are classify, birds with one red feather, birds with only seeing, all this, and if you, some books of entrepreneurship, like the fantasy classification of a blind poet.
Before we continue this podcast, here's a message from our sponsor.
We believe that you can create art and beauty with technology. We think big. We move quietly. We are Ninja Software.
Rolling back to that thing you said about the lady that wanted to, or just as a case study, turmeric in Nepal, or the guys with the felt who wanted to increase production and scale up. So I remember in your TED talk, you were saying that, creating a public community space where people can share ideas is pretty counterproductive, because they don't, like, a lot of people don't like to share their ideas, share their, how they're going to spend their money. So when you create the safe space, do you just create it and wait for everyone to come to you? Or do you find them?
Yeah. What you do, you say, okay, you arrive in a community and you set up a chiropractor office. In that community, they have never, ever, ever, ever seen a chiropractor. They don't know what a chiropractor does. So the chiropractor open up an office, and then start to go to the pub, goes to the church, and people say, and who are you? You new here? Say, yes, I'm the chiropractor. Oh, and what does the chiropractor
What's that?
do? Oh, I fix people who have a bad back. Oh, yeah, but we don't use chiropractor here. Until one of the truckers, long distance trucker, comes home and is dying of pain, because sitting on the truck for 14 hours, he is dying of pain. And the lady at the church says, oh, that there is a chiropractor in that. And the trucker says, what's that? Oh, apparently somebody there. And said, listen, I don't trust anybody. I don't want to spend that money, but I am in agony. Let me go and see this guy. So the very first client, after 3 months, walks into the chiropractor office and comes out with a smile to say, this guy is good. Oh my God. So how long it takes for the message to go around the community? That
Word of mouth,
So that's what we do with enterprise facilitators. We train local people, and we say to local people, talk with people who, the people who have invited me to create the service are the first people. It's like the people in the church and in the pub. They start to tell people, we have now a full-time paid enterprise facilitator. And people say, what the hell is an enterprise facilitator thing? Oh, it's somebody who, for free and in confidence, helps you transform your ideas. And people say, bullshit, what are you talking about? You must be joking. I'm not going to tell anybody about my idea. I don't trust anybody. And who is this person? Oh, this person is Brian Willoughby. And Willow is an enterprise facilitator now, but Willow is in the fire brigade, and Willow is the guy that he plays this is a real story of my first facilitator in Estra. Willow is the guy who plays in the band every year. And Willow also had a farm outside town, and said, what is he doing now? He says, this guy will help you with your business. And so what happened is that nobody will go and speak to Willow and say, what for? Until you have one person who is on the bone of his ass, someone who absolutely has reached the point of not knowing whether to keep going or
try something brave and courageous.
And what happens is that our first clients are the people who have absolutely they've lost. It's like, who will go to a dentist? People who are okay? No. People who go to the dentist are in agony. So what happens is that the first few clients are the people really on the bone of their asses. And when we help them, and the way we help them, I can tell you very briefly how we do it. But as soon as we help that first person to go around with a smile from ear to ear, people say, what the hell it happened? So the word spreads around, and we also encourage the first successful client to say, listen, nobody believes in us. Can you tell your story? So we co-opt our very first clients to say, I didn't believe it either, but I said, I have nothing to lose. Let me go and speak to Willow. And so you discover that Willow started very slowly, but for 13 years, he had an average of 1,400 people going to speak to him every year. And out of the 1,400, he had 40 new businesses every year. In a community like Esperance, in 20 years, we had 800 new businesses. And this was documented, and we have it. That was documented. We had the federal government. We had 2 PhD professors of economics coming to have a look. People said, this is impossible what you've done here, Ernesto. What have you done? I said, I've done something very difficult. I shut up and listened to them. And it was the intelligence of the people of Esperance to say, we're not going to die this way. We are going to really see whether we can sell this product, whether we can do things differently. So that spirit you can find everywhere. You have some vision, because people said to me, Ernesto, but how do you deal with the naysayers, the people who say, oh, bullshit, this is not gonna work, and how do you deal with them? And I said, listen, I only go where invited. I never meet those people. I go where people want me, therefore there is already passion for the local people. So a mayor will come invite me to say, listen, I know that my people are intelligent. We are the laughing stock of the UK. We are the 11th poorest community in Wales, in Blaenau Gwent, but I know I'm being a union member. I've seen my people being destroyed by the Thatcher government. I've seen mines being closed, the steelworks being closed. But I know how smart my people are. And you're the only one who say that you should listen to your people instead of dismissing them like a bunch of bludgers. And so I go into Blaenau Gwent, invited by a person who had a passion for the community. I had a public meeting to say, this is what I do. if you want to this program, I need 20 volunteers, and I need to find a local person to be trained as a facilitator. 10 years later, is considered one of the fastest growing entrepreneurial town in Wales.
Wow.
The facilitator is dynamite, and I don't know how many, the last count was 120 businesses in a place that was considered, but it's much more than that now. And there are independent studies, university studies. In fact, we have so much evidence of that. For years I was trying to convince people. Now I've been invited. I'm talking to universities, thinking maybe we should teach this
It's a bit
at the
easier,
university.
yeah.
When you actually get up in front of them in the town hall and you give them that kind of elevator pitch, what do you say?
Yeah.
Like how do you rouse their spirits?
Well, what I said to them, I tell the story of what I do, and then I said to them, you see this face? I make you a promise. You will never, ever, ever, ever see me again unless you invite me here. Mm. And if you invite me back, you, 5 of you have to form a small management committee, and 5 of you have to put ads in the paper and find the money to recruit a local person. You have to pick the person. I will help you to train it. And then in 12 months' time, I will go away. You'll never see me again. And the person is your person, speaks your language, your dialect in the Congo. And I describe to them what we do with entrepreneurs, because the key of our work is a methodology that we have named the Trinity of Management, TOM. And the Trinity of Management says that no human being in the world has ever been able to do it, to sell it, and to look after the money with equal passion and skill.
So true.
And there is no evidence. There is no historical record of a single company in the world set up by one person. And I found the name of the person who could say no to Ford, Edison, Carnegie, Rothschild, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. There is no one who has ever set up a company alone.
It's true.
And the reason is because it's not about intelligence, it's about personality. You can be very intelligent, but if you hate people, it will show. And you cannot go knocking at doors, try to sell your invention if the person will not open the door because will look at somebody who looks angry and shy and red in the face and embarrassed. So it's not about the technique of selling that will save you, and you cannot change your personality. So what we have come up is with a very simple methodology. What we do, we say at the first meeting, we listen very carefully to the client. Remember that they come to us because they're in pain. They are like they go to a dentist. There is absolutely nobody who likes to go and see a doctor. They go because they are in pain. So the enterprise facilitator waits for somebody in pain, going to see her and saying, my business, I have lots of love for what I'm doing, but I'm not going anywhere with it. I'm not making enough money. I'm an embarrassment to my family. I'm in pain because I have so much love for it, but I cannot make it pay. What am I doing wrong? So we listen very carefully to what they say, and then we do a little drawing. And the little drawing that we do is we put a smiley face, and the smiley face, if it's a woman, we put hair on the smiley face. And then we show this, we draw 3 boxes. In Africa, we do this with a stick on the ground. And we say to the person, okay, darling, you are the one at the top. You the boss. Tell me, if you could do for the rest of your life what you love to do in the business, would you make it? Would you be every day, 10 hours a day? Would you travel with a suitcase 270 days a year promoting it to all the trade shows and be the marketing person? Or would you be behind the screen all day long doing the financials? What do you love? Don't tell me what you can do. Tell me what you love. Remember, I studied psychology, not business. So now the person said, oh my God, if I could do what I love, I would only be raising organic chicken in my farm. And I said, okay, are you raising chicken now? I said, yeah, I have the best chicken in the area here in the Congo, in Katanga, outside of Kamina. I said, okay, so why did you call me? Well, I called the facilitator, Fabrice, who speaks the dialect of this lady and lives in, he speaks 4 local dialects, English, French, and Swahili. Fabrice said to her, so why did you call me? And she said, because I'm growing the best chicken in the area, but I can't sell enough chicken to survive. And he says, why? He said, because I live outside the town and very few people have a car or a motor or a scooter or a bike to come and buy my chicken. And so Fabrice says, why don't you go take your chicken to the market? She said, because if I leave my chickens, they steal my chicken. If I leave the farm, they steal my chicken. So they say, okay, well, do you know somebody who is unemployed in your village who has a bicycle who can take 12 live chicken on the handlebar, come down to the public market in town to sell your chicken? And she says, yes, my nephew would love to do it, but I don't have the money to pay him. And Fabrice says, why don't you give him 10% of every chicken he sells? And she said, I'm not stupid. If I give him 10%, I lose 10% on every chicken. And Fabrice says, no, downtown, the chicken sell for 30% more. She says, what? Yeah, your chicken downtown sell for 30% more. So you give him 10%, you make 20% on 400 chicken a month. How would you like to sell 400 chickens a month? And she said, what? Let's speak to my nephew. So they made a deal with the nephew. She said, I give you 15%. And then, so we have filled this box with the person who is now the marketer on commission, which was what we did in Esperance with the tuna. We found somebody who took the tuna to Japan on a commission basis, and they went from 60 cents to $15 a kilo in 12 months. And then Fabrice says, who do you know who understands finance and can help you to calculate precisely the cost of raising the chicken, how much you should sell them for, percentage? And she said, in my entire village, I never met anybody who understands the numbers. So Fabrice says, would you like me to help you? Because I have a group of volunteers who works with me. If you authorize me, I can ask my volunteers if they know a retired or an accountant. And she says, well, I cannot pay the person, but I could give the person a chicken a month. So Fabrice went to the group and found somebody who for a chicken a month would spend 1 hour doing the accounts and was the accountant of the Methodist Church. So our secret is product marketing finance. We do this in the poorest communities in the world, but we do this in Silicon Valley now. Because in Silicon Valley, 90% of the startup goes bust because they don't have this.
I was actually going to say that this wisdom is something we've been talking to a lot of, wise business people over the last month, and this message, in said in different ways, obviously, but it's so common. Yeah, it's like you have to stop trying to do everything yourself, and you need to be doing what you're passionate about. If you're not doing that, you will fail. It's something we keep hearing.
And I think that if you look at my work has been a very much, a pioneer of this approach, because it's an approach that is a slap in the face of academia. Yeah. Because academia is teaching the MBAs.
Yeah, which you have to master everything in a business.
And they are right, because the MBA is only for administrators. It's not for entrepreneurs. So if you are want to become an administrator, go and do a master in business administration. And when you become an administrator, it means that you don't love any of the 3 fields. You will not spend 10 hours a day for the rest of your life making it. You will never spend 270 days of your life every year traveling to sell it. And certainly, if you are a CEO, you will never spend time in front of a computer doing the accounts, because that's not what the CEO does. The
Guilty.
CEO is diffuse light over three fields: product, marketing, finance. And the role of the administrator is to hire and fire. Okay? So until universities teach administrators, perfect. Don't you dare teach that to entrepreneurs. How dare you? You are now convincing a passionate product person who is a genius, who's totally devoted to produce the next big thing. You are telling this person to stop doing what he loves, to learn to do badly what he hates. You are stopping this woman entrepreneur from being absolutely magnificent in her area of competency and character to try to master what she doesn't love. You are going to have entrepreneurs leaving university screaming to say, you are crazy, this is bullshit, you want to destroy me. I was a whiz kid, age 14. This African-American woman whom I am working with, she started programming age 8 because her mother worked for a bank and she was a computer programmer. And this African-American girl, she has been working for 15 years and she in late 20s. So these are geniuses. And what you do, you say to them, I don't care what comes natural to you. I want you to stop doing what comes natural to you. And I want you to learn marketing and finance. And this is where I confront the MBA people to say, you are putting the academic system at risk because the entrepreneurs don't come to university anymore because they can see through you. And I have, since my TED Talk in 2012, I have had thousands upon thousands of millennials saying to me, please come and teach us how to set up successful businesses, because our professors are teaching us the same stuff. They created a global financial crisis. I had a young student say to me, Ernesto, please help me. Our professor of marketing has spent 1 hour teaching us how to steal. How to steal, how to rob people in a marketing class.
Wow.
And this is the thought that is still, that right now all the millennials are pushing back against, is unbridled capitalism, is the thing that, and is Milton Friedman, aim of the corporations is to maximize profit. And it's absolutely wrong. It's not true that greed is good. Greed destroys the market because monopolistic activities destroy. The monopolistic activities, which are the creation of unbridled capitalism, have the net effect of destroying the market because all the prices will be fake.
You have made it to the end of another episode of Tech Society. Thank you so much for listening.
The Trinity of management is a beautifully simple approach to business success. We really hope that Ernesto has inspired you in your endeavors.
I think it did. I think you and I really took away a lot from this, and this recording of the outro is actually a little bit after we spoke to Ernesto, and we're already applying these principles to our own business.
There has been some time between the recording and now. However, we've already applied it to our own business and it's been pretty great.
Ernesto is definitely onto something. It's simplistic,
It sounds obvious when you hear it.
but there are a lot of people selling this idea that business owners have to be everything. While I think a business owner should be aware of everything, they're not going to be good at everything.
Which makes you really appreciate how difficult it is for the solo owners out there as well.
Yeah, so actually solo owners out there, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask Ernesto, leave us them in the comments or tweet us at Tech Society and we'll likely talk to Ernesto soon. He's got a lot to say and we're interested in what he's got to say.
So head on over to the website, techsociety.fm, and sign up to our newsletter.
And as always, this episode was sponsored by Ninja Software, an entrepreneurial software company that thinks big and moves quietly. We execute high risk, high concept, and high value software projects, so check us out at njs.dev.